It's question and answer Thursday, and today we're going to talk about sibling rivalry. So if you don't know, I'm Christina. I'm the founder of The Impactful Parent, and every Thursday I come on here and go live with you and answer one of your questions that you submitted this week. And yeah, this today is all about sibling rivalry, and it is live. So hello, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. All right, so today's question says, do you have tips on how to get cousins to get along? I moved in with my sister and our kids do not get along. My sister and I also have different ways of parenting. Now, because you live with your sister now, in most respects, with all these suggestions I'm giving, they are now theoretical siblings. The sibling rivalry is what you're seeing. And so all the suggestions apply to that also. And that's going to help a lot more people because, yeah, we have kids that fight with each other, right? Everybody does. So here we go. Also, this is also a great opportunity to get some tips on how do you co-parent with somebody who doesn't parent the same way you do. That happens all the time. And let's start off by saying, okay, yeah, it would be way better if you were on the same page as a person that you need to coexist in the same household with and co-parent with. However, that's not really the reality for a lot of people. All right. And you cannot control them. You have to let that go. I know it's super hard because they're really frustrating and they don't do the things that you do the way that you do them, but you cannot control their actions. You can't control what they say. You can't control what they think. What you can control is you. And so you need to make the focus more about how can I change the situation myself? What do I need to do? How do I need to think to make this home better? And that's all you can do at this point. So let's get into that. This is super common to have sibling rivalry between the ages of 8 and 12 years old is kind of like the heightened age limit of when this happens in most households. And usually it's centered around jealousy of some sort. So first suggestion, talk to your child and ask them, do they feel like things are one-sided or not equal? It may seem like they're absolutely equal to you, but ask your kids. Start that conversation because it's really important that you understand how they feel because they're the ones having all this anger, anxiety, and emotions coming up, and it could be because of that. So after you figure that out, equalize the competition as much as possible. Keep things separate. Try not to make comparisons between children and definitely avoid activities where one kid has an advantage. This is just going to cause problems. So it's also a great opportunity to have the talk with your kids about equal but different. So we are all created equal, but we're all different, right? So we all have different needs. We can't treat everybody exactly the same. It's just much more about being equitable than being absolutely equal. This is a great opportunity to talk to your kids about that. Now, going back to you trying to get on the same page as that parent that just does not co-parent the way that you do. So try to talk to that parent and come up with some simple rules that you can agree on together. And I mean simple rules that you think are like no-brainers. No hitting, no lying, don't steal from us. Simple things like that, and then make consequences for those simple rules. Now, even if your kid doesn't really break those particular rules, what you're doing here is you're creating a foundation that you can agree on with that co-parent. So it's a starting point for starting to agree. Now you're coming at your children with a united front, which is so much more powerful than two parents competing with each other. So that is a huge suggestion. Try to make a common ground with that parent. Next, I've heard that a lot of families use what is called a job jar for petty fights. Now, petty fights, in my opinion, are those kind of fights that there's no really reason for them. Kids are just bored, and then fighting has become a habit. Now, if this is the case, there's no reason to problem solve, particularly in this particular case. So let's just try to get the kids to get out of that bad habit. And the consequence to that is this job jar, where you take jobs around the house, things like picking up dog poop, breaking the leaves, put them on a little piece of paper and put them in the jar. When the kids start to argue for petty reasons because of habit, then you send them to the job jar. They have to pick out a job and they have to do that job before they continue on with their day. It becomes really inconvenient for them, and then they don't really want to fight as much. So if that works for you, I hope it does, because that's why I'm suggesting it today. All right. Now, for other things that are come with a lot more emotions behind them, you need to sit down and talk to your children. And the key here is to get them to be part of the solution. I know it's super easy to take the quick way and say, you're right, you're wrong, this is the consequence, you guys just stop it, just stop yelling and separate them, and yeah. But in the end, they're not learning how to problem solve. So here's an opportunity to really teach your child how to coexist with somebody that they don't agree with. Also, use their problem solving skills, how to work in a group. And this question is really, really important. Listen to this. What do you need to coexist? Ask them, because we don't know. They might have suggestions. This is a very powerful and simple question, but it can get you leaps and bounds if you can just get those answers. What do you need to coexist? And then let's make them start problem solving and starting those solutions that you're going to help them and facilitate. So you're going to have to listen. That's my next advice to you. Really listen to the kids when they're in an argument. Kids need to feel heard. And a lot of times, if they're not getting that I'm feeling heard, whether they're right or they're wrong, they're just going to escalate even more and get a lot more resentful. So sit and listen. Try to step into the situation, listen to both sides without taking sides, which I know is really difficult, but listen to both parties. Let them make their case. And then step back and let them problem solve. You start asking them questions on how they can make things right. When they're the problem solvers, it's a lot better outcome in the long run. And then the fights start to become a little bit less often. Now, aside from the argument part, when they're actually in the argument, you need to give each one of the kids in the house individual attention, and lots of individual attention. Again, this is a time in their life where the jealousy is starting to come into play. They're making a lot of comparisons in their brain. And although from our side as a parent, we think we give our kids equal amounts of attention and we treat them all pretty equally, they may not feel that way. So give them lots of attention, and it could help alleviate some of this back frustration, which is coming out in arguments with their siblings later on. They may secretly be feeling super jealous about some of the extra attention you're giving one person or another, and they just don't know how to tell you. So really make a conscious effort to give each child their own individual attention. And then make sure that each child has their own personal space. Again, hopefully this is something that you can agree on with the person you're co-parenting with, but it's important. Give each kid their area. Then one other suggestion I have too is that when kids get into arguments, a lot of times emotions are rising, right? They're like, and they're all over the place, and man, they're like angry. Okay. At that time period, it may not be the best to sit there and problem solve. So do separate them. But the key here is separate them, and then when they're calm, bring them back to do the problem solving. I know it's easy to take the easy way out and just separate them and then not come back, because you can just move forward on with the day, but come back, let them calm down, come back, and let's talk about it. Now, a couple last suggestions. Keep tired and hungry kids away from each other. Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster. And if possible, try not to let your kids get bored. When they get bored, they try to find trouble, it seems like, and so keep them busy as much as you can. I hope that was helpful to you. Again, I'm Christina, and if you have a question for me for next week, please DM me or email me at theimpactfulparent@gmail.com. And I'll see you here next Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving to you, because again, this is live. Have an amazing day, you guys.